spirituality, it appears as a small point for something that's unclear, for something that's unknown, and it sparks in us a certain search for that root of the soul. All these desires, as we know them, desires for food, sex, family, these are our corporeal desires in this world. And as the desires grow, we have desires for money, honor, control, knowledge, and in the final development of the desire, we have the desire for spirituality, which is born, or as we call it in the wisdom of Kabbalah, a point in the heart. So, first we have to understand that all of our development, the development of an individual and the development of humanity in general, it's a process of going through experiencing this in action, experiencing this growth of desire and feeling that desire on all kinds of levels. This desire is an emergence, this corporeal desire is an emergence of what was once a state where we all shared what's called a single soul. It was called the soul of Adam HaRishon. You could say it was a state before all this came into play. It's actually omnipresent, but for the sake of this right now, we'll talk about it as being as a state preceding the development of the desire in this world. So we were once in this one soul called Adam HaRishon. Up here, that soul shattered. It went through a process which shattered. And the experience of corporeal life as you and I know it, our inborn perception of all these desires and pleasures all around us. So that is all this sensation of being separated from that soul that we were once connected to. We were once parts of that soul in an unconscious adhesion with it, and therefore we have no recollection of that state of being connected to that soul in our current lives. And our current lives, including the life of all of humanity over the generations, is all a process of regaining the consciousness of being that one soul of Adam HaRishon that we once had. So all this process happening here is a process of what you could call incarnations, where what's incarnating? It's not really incarnating, but it's a desire that's growing and growing and growing, and each time the soul is undergoing a certain changes. What one set of five senses, sight, smell, hearing, touch and taste, experiences in one lifetime, at a certain point the desire stops for those. That's a state called corporeal death that we know. And because there's this process of the desire developing to a point where it's regaining consciousness of that one soul that it was once connected to, so it eventually, those five senses that departed, we lose consciousness of that self that we once had in this world, and that desire, which is still growing, it's as if it clothes or dresses a new set of five senses, and continues the process of going through this process of the desire's development until this desire for spirituality eventually appears. This one here. The desire for spirituality is not a full-fledged desire. It's not a desire where we, like the other desires, where if I have a desire for money, it's very clear to me what that desire is aiming at. I can picture money, I can picture making money, and what it means to achieve it, and same with all these corporeal desires: food, sex, family, money, honor, control, knowledge. So spirituality, it appears as a small point for something that's unclear, for something that's unknown, and it sparks in us a certain search for that root of the soul. Now, when we attain the purpose of this final level of desire, the purpose of this final level of desire is literally the purpose of why we were created, which is ultimately to attain that adhesion as part of that one soul, or you could say adhesion with the Creator. So when we undergo the process of developing this sense, this point in the heart, to be a full sense that perceives this soul, you could say, up here. What I'm drawing up here is the exact same as what was initially there. So when we develop it in that direction and make it develop to perceive that fully, so that's considered that we attain the purpose of our lives while we're alive in this world. We attained the perception and connection to that soul, to that one soul that was created. And when we do so, then we attain the purpose of our lives. In other words, what the wisdom of Kabbalah says is that the goal here is for us to eventually attain the full perception of everything that there is to perceive in the universe, everything that was made for us to perceive in the universe while we're alive in this world. Until then, we're in a process of this desire constantly growing and growing and growing until that desire grows to a point when we're ready to embark on that process. The wisdom of Kabbalah is a method that was made specifically for guiding that process, and it's there for anyone who wants to pursue that process in an active manner. But whether a person studies the wisdom of Kabbalah in an active manner to attain that soul or not, that desire is still going to keep growing and growing and growing, and eventually it's going to be pushing everyone to attain this state of perceiving and sensing the soul, or you could also call it the system that we're all in, the system of Adam Arishon, that one soul that was created. And the difference here is that we're talking about that when we attain that, then we attain the sensation of eternity and perfection while we're alive in this world. This full attainment of what this desire initially emerges as a point to achieve gives us that full attainment of literally everything we can possibly attain in this world, and that makes for our completion. And by doing so, we no longer need to reincarnate. There's an article, by the way, by Rabash, Kabbalist Baruch Shalom Hadavi Ashlag, the teacher of Kabbalist Dr. Michael Laitman, where he specifically writes about that. He says that, what's the level a person needs to reach so that they don't get incarnated in this world anymore. And it's the full 125 steps of moving from this state of having the point in the heart, the desire for spirituality, all the way up to the full attainment of the soul.